Okay, welcome back, everybody. So today I have with me Shawn Kaufman from McAneny Brothers. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Okay, I remember when we did our first assembly, that was a challenge.
Yeah,
for me.
there's a lot of syllables there.
So I have Shawn Kaufman from McAneny Brothers today for our interview for this podcast episode. So I'll start us right off the bat. So just for any students who don't know who McAneny Brothers are or what you guys do, what does your company do?
So we are a wholesale food distributor. So we supply convenience stores, grocery stores in PA, Ohio, Maryland, West Virginia, parts of New York. We also operate 7 of our own retail locations, 6 of which are six of which are actually grocery stores. One's a candy store. So it's a good company to work for around Valentine's Day and Easter, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't know about the candy store. That's really cool.
Right down the road from here.
Okay. That's awesome. So what are some of like the core values and the mission at McAneny Brothers?
So what sets us apart, and we are an extremely competitive industry. The margins are tight.
Oh, yeah.
It's very interesting to be in the food business coming from somewhere else. But so you have to do something to make your business unique. So what the founders have always focused on would be service. We will do things for customers that others won't in a more flexible way. It could be deliveries, going out of our way to make sure they have what they have. And the other thing is value, especially now with the economy being in the state of what it is. Shoppers are looking to get more value, more quality for their dollars, and that's something that we really hang our hat on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and the food industry is one of those interesting industries because everybody has to eat, but people also need to be able to afford to eat.
Yeah, they're going to be selective when they buy their food, and we've seen that trend really play out, especially since COVID.
Yes, yeah. So what kind of like products and services do you guys offer there?
Great question. So think about anything that's in a grocery store. Literally everything. Anything from cereal, fruits, vegetables, soup, to the little air fresheners that you have in your car.
Yeah.
What we really specialize in would be our meat business and our produce.
Yeah,
that's something that makes us very unique. That's been the thing that helps us to get more customers and more repeat business.
Yeah, that's it's been an interesting trend these last few years. We've seen both among our students and parents that people have been trying to be a lot more health oriented.
Absolutely.
And so having fresh products like that is really great, and it offers a lot of a lot of parents and even students love stuff like that because they hate so many processed things in their diets these days. So that's really great. So we always kind of touch on this with our business partners because we love to explore what opportunities there are for students. So what do entry-level positions look like at McAneny Brothers? Do you guys offer anything for people coming out of high school that might want job opportunities?
Well, so for somebody coming out of high school, really the world is the limit for them. Any of our retail stores there are positions there. Now, when they're out of high school and if they're 18, they can work in our warehouse. There are the starting wage for our warehouse is tremendous. It's over $18 an hour.
Oh, wow.
It's a 4-day week with some overtime and bonuses. They're doing extremely well. They're well into the 40s and 50s right out of high school.
Yeah.
At our stores, really what we're looking for is that next generation of leaders. So everybody that comes in every job, you're going to learn something from that position that you can then apply to the next role. So come in and learn how to stock, run a cash register. Then I thought that the grocery business was relatively simple until I worked in it. The complexities, especially of perishable food that has a very short time span, trying to predict what customers like, and it's unique to the season and to the location. Learning that business, pricing especially, a person can make a career out of if they want to, and that's certainly what we're looking for, and that's what we encourage.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's almost like the awesome thing about the grocery business is it looks so simple from the outside, and that just shows you how some grocery stores are running themselves so well because when everything looks simple from the outside,
you don't notice it. Exactly.
Yeah, that's just impressive how complex it actually is behind closed doors.
Right, but if you go into a store and it's wrong,
Oh yeah, you
it's very obvious. Yes.
Yes, that's so awesome. And that's been a big thing. We've noticed a big trend this year. We've had a few like signing days of the challenge program and stuff like that with different companies. And that's been one of the things. I just interviewed a student yesterday, and that was one of the things I was like, what are you most excited about with a sign day and working here? And he was like, I'm going to be making some good money right out of high school. And he was so excited about that. So students really do care about having those opportunities, even if they're going to college, having a great part-time opportunity at a company so that they can be making money while they're going to college to hopefully help pay for college and make their way through it. That's so important. So I love that you guys have great entry-level positions like that. So one thing that people are really valuing these days, especially ones that want to work straight out of high school and don't want to go into college, is like training and development opportunities. Okay. What do you guys have in the way of like training that you give to your employees, development opportunities for them through the company?
And again, another great question. And I touched on this before, and maybe we'll go into a little bit more detail. So the grocery business that we're in, because it's specialized, requires a lot of detail knowledge. Again, a lot more than what I assumed when I took this role a few years ago.
You see whenever you come into the store.
Oh, exactly. It's there. You pick it up off the shelf and you go on your way.
Yes.
There's a lot more of that. So, we have a few management training programs. We're looking for people who want to learn to become a department manager, whether it be produce or meat or something. It's something specialized. And our intent is to grow. We just added a store last year, and there was an acquisition not too far behind that. We're planning more in the future. And if you look at the demographics of the grocery business, they're older. They're older than I am. They're set to retire. So we're looking for those folks who can fill that void that exists. And a lot of that training is hands-on. I came from manufacturing, and the positions that were the most common and hard to fill back then were welder, for instance.
Oh yeah.
In this business, it would be something like a meat cutter, like a butcher. It's an old school craft that isn't that popular anymore, but is extremely important, very much in need, and is something that you have to learn by doing.
Oh, yeah.
Whether that be a combination of on-the-job training or an apprenticeship or both, it would be a great way for a person to come into our business and learn literally from the ground up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a subject that we visit a lot, is like there are a lot of these like old skills that are still so important today,
Absolutely.
but just aren't as hot nowadays because we're so used to that easy thing. Like we just go into grocery stores and the meat is cut and the cheese is cut and everything is just laid out perfectly for us and all this stuff. So we just don't think about how much work can go into some of those things.
Absolutely.
And so I think that we've been talking a lot about that because now the generation that does a lot of that is aging out and leaving.
They're retiring.
That void filled.
Yeah, and I touched on this before. You asked about what sets us apart. One of the things that we really hang our hat on is that at all of our stores we cut meat fresh daily.
Oh, that's awesome.
And you can customize your cut. It's grilling season. I can't wait to throw a steak on the grill, and it's just, if nothing more than for the smell. But some of our competitors they're prepackaged, and what you get is what's on the shelf. And if you want something different, you're going to have to go elsewhere, and you don't know how long it's been there. And we cut that daily. And again, those positions are more difficult to find.
Yeah, and that's so awesome having fresh produce cut every day like that. That's so like useful. That's like a very like fun thing, and it's fun to have it customized because especially sometimes people just have like weird preferences that aren't standard. They either like a really thick cut of cheese or they like this or that. Right. And so it's great to be able to customize that for people. That's such a great little opportunity. And we talked about part-time employment a little bit, but I always like to touch on internships too. So you guys have a good quantity of part-time and internships.
Part-time positions, the warehouse is somewhat limited inside because OSHA considers that a safety-sensitive position. Unless a person is enrolled in a program, there are some material handling and warehouse science programs, I think they call it, in the area, so that would work. But unless they're enrolled in an internship, they wouldn't be able to work in the warehouse. But we have a lot of people who have worked their way through high school and or college at the stores that work at our company. So that would be a great place to start and even keep working while you're getting your education.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that students, when we talk to a lot of students about this, that sometimes a thing to value too is if you are part-time somewhere while you're in college or something, and you start to create a rapport with that company and you're a really hard worker while you're in college, if you end up getting something like a business degree or something like that, where you would be more inclined to be management, you might be able to talk to a company that you've been working part-time for, and if they've really liked you and liked your work ethic, you might be able to talk to them about moving up the ladder and doing different positions in the company, you know?
Well, it happens. Yeah. It happens at our store, and I'm just thinking right now, some of the younger folks in our office, two in particular, one, she just graduated last year with an accounting degree. She went to the Mount. She's in our accounting department, and another young man is a year or two older than that, worked in our warehouse all through college, got a degree from the Mount as well in IT.
Oh, wow.
And he's in our IT department. And again, they have the knowledge of the business and the technical knowledge. So when you go to apply it, it makes it a lot, they can get up to speed quicker, and it's a lot more relevant because when your manager is asking you for something, you understand what's behind there, and there's usually a few steps that you're ahead of somebody coming in from the outside.
Yeah, and that has been like a great opportunity, and that's really great to hear because we have noticed that like verticality has not been as big of a thing the last few years.
Oh.
And companies have struggled with that because that is so helpful to have somebody that started from a part-time position and moves into a larger position, because now they really understand the business from the bottom up, because they started with some of these entry-level positions at the company and then moved into higher management. So now they understand the people that they're managing. Yeah. They understand what they go through every day.
Our senior managers are all started at the organization. There are people in our company that have been there 40 plus years.
Wow, that's amazing.
That started with when the McAnenys founded it, and again, they know every part of the business. And there was just one that they gravitated to specialize in. But it's been nice to be part of it.
Yeah, that's so awesome, and that is great to hear. I love whenever we hear that from companies, because I think that shows a company's like concentration on their employees when they have a lot of entry-level employees that move up, because it shows that you guys really value each employee, because you see employees doing a good job and you give them that opportunity to climb higher, which is amazing. So I always like to touch on work culture too, because that's a really big thing with students nowadays. They like a good work environment. They like a positive work culture. So how would you describe the work culture at McAneny?
I would say friendly and down to earth. 2 of the 3 founders are still involved in the business.
Oh, wow.
They're usually the first people to say hello to you in the morning, in both the office, and they're in the stores frequently, and they understand how difficult it is to find and keep people. So there's a definite sense of appreciation there.
Yeah.
I mean, we hustle, we work, but it's a nice environment.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. I feel like whenever we talk to students and other people, I feel like most of the time that is the secret, is usually the hardest workers work so hard because they have such a good environment around them. Yes. So it makes the work more fun. It makes everything more fun and easier to do because you have people around you that you can trust and you can have a little bit of fun with while you're doing your work. And it just makes every worker work harder because they are just happy to be there. They actually enjoy doing all the work that they do, which is so awesome. We always love hearing that kind of stuff. So now I want to focus on you a little bit, transitioning. So we always like to explore, whenever we have a person from one of our business partners, we always like to explore how they got into their position, because a lot of students see some of our business partners or what position they're in, and they're so curious how they could get that kind of position or how that person got into that. So I saw that you are like in the HR there at McAneny. So what is your official job title?
So my official job title is Director of Human Resources. So I'm responsible for HR and safety at our company.
Oh, okay. So how did you get into like the HR industry? And how did you get to working at McAneny?
Oh, okay.
I know, digging deep.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I'm thinking back a number of years. I didn't go right to college from high school.
Okay.
I took a little bit of time and figured out that what was missing was an education. I had a sense that I liked business, so I thought I would dip my toes into a little bit because I wasn't sure. So I started out with a 2-year degree in business, and very quickly felt that was where I needed to be. And the nice thing about undergraduate business programs, you take a little bit of everything. And I found out very quickly I'm not an accountant. I hate numbers. I'm not really creative. So marketing was out, and I gravitated toward people, solving issues there. So that led to a bachelor's degree, and then that led to a master's degree specifically in HR. So, my career, I've worked at companies that is different from businesses that used to build and manage shopping malls to manufacturing and construction. And then about 3 years ago, got to the point in your career, you're becoming a little bit too comfortable. And at that point, you need to challenge yourself a little bit. And I happened to see that there was an opening at McAnegy's, and I read the ad, and it touched on everything that I was looking for and everything that I wanted to accomplish. And more importantly than all that was the culture. Yeah. So I was fortunate enough to interview with them and be selective, and it was a good move for me.
That's so awesome. Yeah. And that's, it's so funny because I actually had the same thing kind of happen to me. I went to Penn Highlands for business management. And doing that, you pretty much go through like all the different like things. And same thing, like first thing that they do at Penn Highlands, because they know that most students like will hate that part of business, is they make you take 2 accounting classes right off the bat. Yeah. And I was like, this is horrible. I was like, I am not an accountant.
Yeah. Some people love it. I am not one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's some people like our CFO, Karen. She loves crunching numbers. Oh, yeah. She loves doing all that stuff. And I'm just always amazed by her because I'm like, I could never. I was like, my eyes turn sideways whenever I see some of those sheets.
It's a definite, that needs to be your calling. And I found out right away that is not mine.
Yes, yeah. But that's so awesome that I think that's really great for students to hear that you explored a lot of stuff before you like settled on that. Because so many students get so in their head, either if they don't go to college right after high school or if they go to college and change their major, they get so in their head that like, oh, this is it. Like that, I don't know what I'm going to do next. Like they just don't feel secure in changing their mind.
I have 2 kids that are the age now. One's in college, the other one's got a year left in high school. And what's been nice about the Challenge program for all the years I've been associated with, you get to talk to that age group, and you're trying to help them in that, regardless of how they think. Nobody has it all figured out in high school. It's okay. Yeah. They have time. Don't make mistakes. Don't do anything dumb to box yourself in a position where you can't get out of. But you don't need to have it all figured out. But you always need to be taking steps to move forward in a way to solve that question.
Yeah, and improving yourself too a lot. That's like why we focus so hard on our award categories, because really our 5 award categories are like fundamental to getting a skill set to work anywhere. And so that's why that's great, because once you have those base soft skills, you can pretty much explore any job, and that gives you the freedom to explore different jobs. And so if you're at a company for a year and it just really doesn't feel like the fit, don't feel afraid to like talk to them about either moving positions or going to another company and exploring that.
A business would always prefer to hire from within.
Yes, yeah. So that's so awesome. So Challenge Chats is the name of the podcast, so we always like to touch on challenges a little bit too. So I wanted to see if you could remember any challenges that you really faced when you were getting into college and getting into these different industries.
A different world back then, and if you're not from the Johnstown area, or maybe you can, but the economy was in a different place when I was a student there. Unlike now, there were no jobs. And I remember sitting through one of my graduations, and the speaker was less than inspiring, and her message was, regardless of what you may hear, there actually are jobs out there, and no one really believed. And it was difficult. I remember going to interviews after grad school and for an HR position, entry-level HR position, and you would literally, you would see all of your classmates lined up for the same position that you were. So you really had to set yourself apart and have a little bit of luck on your on your side, but you needed to be able to tell a story why that company should take a chance on you. But that was. It was a different time and place back then.
Yeah, and that has to be like, that was probably both a little scary and like almost discouraging, because you have to go up against all your classmates here. So you're like, I'm hoping the best for them, but also like I need a good position too.
It was, but in college, fortunately, the instructors knew that, and
Yeah.
and you were always challenged of, okay, what are you doing to set yourself apart? What were you? I mean, this is beyond grades.
Yeah.
What were you involved with? Did you work? Did you volunteer? Were you in any outside groups? Did you take leadership
Yeah.
positions? What sets you apart? What have you done that would give the employer a sense that you were successful before, you're going to be successful in
Yeah.
your new role?
Yeah, that's really important. It's so funny that you touch on that because I feel like that's been such a big thing. We've been talking to lots of companies. It's been a big thing nowadays that if people mention that they do community service projects in their local community or do little things like that, like help out places, volunteer places, do things like that, they really value and look a little
Absolutely.
bit extra hard at employees like that because it shows that they have this drive to do even more outside of work. They want to be able to be helpful. They want to be involved.
Yeah, and you grow personally and professionally from all those
Yeah.
experiences.
Yeah. You get to meet so many people and experience so many different things and setups. Yeah, I think that that's so cool and interesting. And so that's a good advice for students because it's good for them to know. Because lots of schools nowadays too, which has been great. We've been noticing lots of schools are offering like little things like clubs where they can be involved in the community after school and doing stuff like that. Which is really
Volunteerism, unfortunately, isn't as common as what it once was.
great. Yeah.
But people that are willing to do that, we love the fact that that's one of the categories, community service for the
Yes.
challenge program. It sets that student apart from all the others.
Yeah. So now you've grown a little bit. Obviously, you've had this position for a little bit too. And so you've gotten to grow and be involved in the business world for so long. Do you feel like you still face any challenges nowadays sometimes with either hiring employees or doing your own job or anything like that?
Oh, it's a different world right now, and in fact, it's 180 degrees from when I started. And for some folks, it takes some time to reprogram your brain because, again, a generation ago there were more jobs than people. Now the opposite is the case. That
Yes,
there are more people in jobs. Now there's more jobs than people. So
Yes, yeah.
the challenge is, from a company standpoint, how do you present yourself to that potential worker as, we want you to work here, this is why we think you should.
Yeah.
So it's attracting and retaining qualified applicants and staff that's the most difficult.
Yeah, and it's part of a competitive workforce now too. Like so many jobs are offering so much, like sign-on bonuses and trainings and other stuff like that. That it's like both trying to get employees and keep them because so many places are offering these things and these things because they're having like workforce crises on and
Absolutely.
off. And so it's also making sure that you make sure that your company is like strong and valuable to each employee. And that is so interesting. It's funny that you've had both experiences now. Like whenever you first got into the workforce, they had the opposite issue. Now that you're like in HR, now you're having the opposing issue.
Yeah. I joke with my kids, and I don't want to be that age again, but I would love to come out into this job market because there are so many opportunities, and it literally is only going to get better. Just simple demographics have proven that to be the case.
Yeah, and that's why I'm really excited for this generation a little bit too, because obviously this generation is also my generation, luckily. And one big thing that I think is so exciting for all of us is that since there's so many open jobs out there, the room for exploration and like visiting different jobs so you can find the right position for you is so much more available because companies have so many entry-level positions like that and they're looking for so many workers. So it's like a great time to be exploring careers and looking around. So I'm so excited for all these students that are graduating and getting out of college and all that. It's such an exciting environment for them. Hopefully it stays like that for a while.
I think it will.
Yes. So then last, we always like to do this for the students. So we always like to talk about first, to be specific, we like to hear like what you like to see from either high school students or students getting into the workforce right now, and what would make them valuable to be hired at McAneny. But also, I found that most of the time when I ask that question, it's just great advice for being hired anywhere, even though it's great to know specifically what McAneny is looking for. Usually that advice is applicable anywhere, so it's just a great piece of advice for students.
Yeah. I think the qualities that make a person a good student would make them a good employee. And it's not hard. Be on time, be ready for work, do what's asked of you, show initiative. If you're not sure about the assignments, ask for clarification. Just basically do everything right. I was listening to a podcast this morning on the way in, and this person was just an insane fitness person. He talked about preparation, and he used the term stackable habits, and I thought that was fantastic, and that the habits of success are universal and can be applied everywhere. So the things that make you a good student, a good athlete, a good person, a good employee, they're all the same. So it's doing the small things right every day and looking for ways to improve that will lead a person to success. And those are the qualities that we're looking for.
Wow, yeah, and that's so awesome. And I think that's great for students here because they now, like, sometimes they forget that all the stuff that they do in high school is valuable.
It matters.
All the lessons and all the things that they learn, those really can be applied in the workforce.
Yep.
So that's so awesome. And I love that. Like, I love that you guys really focus on students, like, showing initiative and just making sure to, like, be there on time, show initiative, and work hard, because it does make a difference. Sometimes students feel like all their hard work doesn't make a difference, and so it's so good to hear companies talking about that, you know. Well, thank you so much, Shawn. Do you have any final notes for students or anything?
No, it's been a pleasure to be affiliated with the program. I, fortunate enough, between two employers, have been with the Challenge program since the 06-07 school year. So
really?
It's been a nice long ride, and believe in your mission and the behaviors and habits that you're trying to promote, because they are quite literally what will make these young folks good people, good adults, and certainly, you know, good, successful employees or business owners in the future.
Yeah, we've been so excited. Lots of our student of the years, because lots of them are starting to get older, and we've seen so many of them move on to be so successful.
Absolutely.
Like, we just did an interview about a month ago with Cole, who was our 2019 winner, I think. And he's doing all these amazing projects down in Florida with housing and other stuff. It's like so awesome to see. So we just love seeing all of our students like find success by using a lot of the tools that we give them and stuff like that. But I'm so happy that like you and McAneny Brothers and the previous company that you were at all saw that as well. I'm happy that we show you guys the impact that we can make on all these students and making a real future for business and education.
It's been a great ride.
Yes, thank you so much, Shawn.
Thank you.